the atmosphere out on that main sort of grass area in the middle of it, it's crazy. If it's a really nice day and it's hot, there's I think I saw a plunge pool. Then, there was drinking in a plunge pool. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. I don't think the people that were in there had seen a single ball being hit at the tennis.
Dirty Linen loves the Australian Open. We are sticking with it for the whole week. Our guest today is Corey Costelloe, who is running the Rockpool Bar and Grill restaurant, which is a bit of a regular at the Australian Open. Corey, welcome to Dirty Linen.
Cheers, Dani. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show. And I was lucky enough to do a little swing by the Rockpool restaurant at the Australian Open in 2022. You've been doing this for a while now. Tell us about Rockpool, yourself and the AO.
I think this will be our sixth tour of duty this year. So, there's been a lot of lessons learnt over the years. It's always a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. Some of the chefs will do 14 days straight of working, and it's big hours because you do the lunch and dinner service. You got to prep, and they're brutal services because you've got 220 people coming in, and they all want to eat quickly, and they all want to leave, and everyone has 3 courses. So it's it takes a bit of a special breed. After you've done it a couple of times, you sort of know what to expect. So we try and take a team and build it from around the country for our different venues that are good at that style of service.
I mean, for your staff, do you is it like penance or an amazing opportunity?
Well, the thing is, when they because they hear about it and they go, oh, that'd be awesome. You go down there, you stay in a hotel, it's nice, it's they hear about dinners that we have after the tennis where we all go out together and eat at some of Melbourne's best restaurants. And so they think it's this really glamorous, week away or 2 weeks away. And after about day 4, they're like, what have I signed up for? It's hard work. But it's very rewarding because, you do get to do all those fun things. And just being with a team for that long and that intense is, it really brings chefs together, I guess.
I'm sure over the 6 years that you've been doing it, you must, as you say, you've learnt a lot. Is one of the things how much of the Rockpool restaurant experience to bring to this event location? Yeah,
there's that. There's that definitely is a part of it. We want to try and make it as much like eating in the restaurant. Obviously, we don't have the wood fire grills, which we're famous for, and we can't really use the aged beef. We have to, because there's so much, we sort of have to use beef that's not of that age value. But we still use Cape Grim beef, and we try and, because we are a produce-driven restaurant, we try and use all of our regular suppliers. I just had to have the call with the lovely people from Holy Goat saying, hey, can we use your cheese this year? And they're like, how much? I'm like, just a little, 55 wheels, if that's possible. And she's like, oh, Corey, thank you for calling me now. And that's the thing. You have to sort of get this stuff organised a fair bit out. So it's good. It just sort of showcases a little bit of what we do, and on a very small scale at the tennis, because, I think for years the food, when you go to events is not sort of, you don't ever go there and walk away going, that was really tasty. You sort of, it's something to sustain you while you're watching a sporting event or a concert or something. And, it's really, the AO have done a great job in lifting that profile. And, other things as well now, like, the cricket grounds and things like that around the country, they're all sort of people are sort of starting to vote, by saying, well, I'm not going to eat that pre-made burger that was sitting there for 2 hours in a Bain Marie. I want something that's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with the AO and some of those other premium events is there's so much else to do that you're like, oh, hang on, I better go watch some tennis for a bit. You can really get caught up in the not only the food, but like the music and other activities.
Oh, yeah, it's great. The atmosphere out on that main sort of grass area in the middle of it, that is just, it's crazy. If it's a really nice day and it's hot, there's I think I saw a plunge pool in one of the pop-ups from someone a few years ago. I won't name who it was, but it was an awesome concept. And, there was drinking in a plunge pool, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. I don't think the people that were in there had seen a single ball being hit at the tennis. So
yeah, exactly. There's so much else to do. It's a real day out. So I'm looking at some of the highlights from the menu. There's like a crudo of Hiramasa kingfish with smoked eggplant. There's, as you say, the Cape Grim beef fillet with scordalia, a smoked beef fat sauce, slow roasted lamb shoulder with salsa verde, and then a different menu for the finals that includes roasted duck breast with poached figs and a pressed duck sauce. I mean, how do you think about the menus for these kind of events where you are, having to get people through in a set amount of time?
We have to make sure that we can pull it off very quickly. And so the first few years we're not great. We struggled a lot with organising some of the things that we're trying to get out, and we had some kitchen failures with equipment, which really hindered it. We had a docket machine that just lost sort of a third of the restaurant's docket. So we're like, oh, we're done. This is awesome. This is really easy. And they're like, well, where's all of that area? I'm like, well, we've got no dockets. So just double checking and triple checking everything before you start. And then there's always little glitches along the way. But we've sort of got Santi and I take Santi down most times to do it. And the two of us are very, very in tune with how we make it work now and what we need to roll out to have that happen. But there's still every year there's something that will be thrown up because it is a choice of a menu and you sort of have to pre-order most of the food, months out. We can get those quantities wrong, and you have a weather change or someone. Last year we ran out of tuna so early, so I was on the phone to Heidi Walker saying, Heidi, please help me, please. And it's not small quantities, it's 500 people a day eating. So it's a large amount of food to call to get premium suppliers to just help you out very quickly. I'm very grateful to all of those people for doing that for me.
So you mentioned bringing your executive chef, Santiago Aristizabal, and I mean other key staff members from around the country, from the various Rockpools, Sydney, Melbourne, Perth. I mean, what is it like for the venues that you pull these staff out of? Is it a real juggling act to make sure that each venue can cope?
It is. We can't take any staff out of Melbourne because Melbourne's really busy. But our restaurant in Sydney is very quiet this time of year. It's in the middle of the finance district of Sydney. So it really sort of, that part of Sydney is a bit of a ghost town. So we can pull some staff out of Sydney and we fly them down and put them up for accommodation. Perth usually are pretty good at sending some staff over, except for last year. And in WA, the Premier over there put a bit of a ban on people coming from WA over. Or they made them quarantine if they came back. So we couldn't take any staff from Perth, unfortunately. But this year we've got a couple of Perth representatives coming over with us. So I'm pretty happy that they're coming.
Fantastic. I mean, I guess, we can't quite say COVID's over, but I guess certainly it's going to be the most normal open for a few years.
Yeah, definitely. It will, I'm thinking it will be. I mean, last year it was pretty amazing that the way they pulled it all together and the way they got it to happen was fantastic. So, yeah.
Yeah, it really was. So, Corey, we've talked a lot about staff, but what about customers? Do you find that you get new people interacting with the brand, or is it a lot of, regulars from around the place that love to have a Rockpool experience at the tennis?
We get a bit of a mix. You get sort of a lot of corporate people in the early stages that come through. They might be there for a work event or something like that. And then you have all the really hardcore tennis fans that travel from all over the world watching their favourite players, and they come up and have a talk. So they really haven't, experienced Rockpool before, and come up and thank us and then try and come to the restaurants, around the country. And then we have our regulars as well that will follow us everywhere. So if we say we're going to New Zealand to do a little pop-up at a golf course, they'll say, oh, well, I might go play golf that weekend and come to the restaurant. So, we have those sort of the Rockpool fans, I guess you could say, and then just the general punters that come in, which the people that are just enjoying it, some Melbourne locals. So it's a real good mix, very different to what we have normally in the restaurants. Yeah, so it makes for a fun time. One year we had the restaurant almost booked out by a Chinese sort of delegation, and they came in, and I've never seen people eat so fast. And they had so that they're organised a pre-order for them. So I think we banged out 3 courses for them in about 40 minutes, and 70 covers at a time, and they sit down, bang. It was almost like a function. So yeah, it's a bit, it can throw some different challenges up at you, but it's always fun.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. And how do you feel at the end of it? Is it always a bit of a wipeout?
Oh, we've learned our lessons about overextending ourselves on the last night and having a bit of a party. I think we've tried to book the flights back to Perth and Sydney and around a bit earlier so that everyone doesn't party a little bit too hard, because you can get carried away. But yeah, it is a sense of satisfaction when you sort of walk out and done. And the last day, because it's the finals, there's not as many people there. It's a bit of a smaller event, so you're sort of almost in pack down mode, and the bump out part of it. So it's just we're looking forward to this year. We've got a Supernormal are coming as well, so I don't know if you're speaking to anyone from there, but maybe Ben. But yeah, Ben asked me the other day, he's like, "What's it like?" I said, "It's intense, mate. Wait till you try it." So I'm looking forward to seeing Ben Pollard from Supernormal and McConnell Group there. So he's looking forward to it as well.
This episode is proudly supported by Montague, handpicked for you.
So the eating experience of our plums is sweet. That's a primary driver. It's got to be sweet, but it's also got to have enough acid, because the mix of acid and sugar is what gives fruit its flavour. And in a plum, it tends to be slightly higher acidity. And then a really nice, full, not dry, but juicy explosion of juice into your mouth as you bite into it. That's nirvana for us in terms of plum.
For more information, go to montague.com.au. Corey, you've been with the group since, I think, 2009 when Rockpool opened in Sydney. I mean, the Rockpool groups, the restaurants and the group, seen a lot of, iterations over that period, few changes. But what is it that's kept you engaged and sticking around?
Oh, I mean, having the opportunity to do things like this, is great. It really, changes the way that you think about cooking, and you're not so precious about as many things. I get to do we did the Singapore Grand Prix earlier in the year, and once again, that's it's like a shortened version of the Australian Open, a brutal one that goes for 3 days. So it's about 1,200 covers a day. And it's, there's a lot of other sort of well-known international chefs there. And so, to who's who, sometimes in the dining room, you're like, oh, wow, look, there's Jean-Georges and, there's Tetsuya, and they're all coming over just to, sit and dine in the restaurant. So, getting things like that, opportunities like that really make it an easy thing to hang around for and to do.
Yeah, incredible. And for the restaurants in 2023, what are you looking forward to? Where do you think things are at in, let's say, in CBDs around the country? I mean, we did record numbers almost this year at Rockpool in Sydney, and same with Spice Temple and now Saki restaurants. Both of those were, really busy as well. So I think if you're doing your job pretty well, and I think if the food you're putting up is of standard, then I didn't really see much of a slowdown for anyone. The CBD foot traffic I know was a little bit down, and we've probably found that nighttime staff is not as nighttime guests aren't as heavy. So and I think that's due to a lot of people working from home, and instead of meeting up after work and having dinner, at a CBD restaurant, people are sort of catching up in the suburbs when they do have dinners, because they're not in the city. So I know a lot of my friends that, don't work in the city anymore. They go, well, do you want to catch up? And we'd always catch up at a little bar and then go to dinner. And now we're not doing that there. We're sort of doing it more in the suburbs.
So yeah, but lunch times are crazy busy at all of our venues, and yeah, the nighttime trade's just a little bit down, but it's being very much made up for it from lunch. So.
That's, really interesting and good to hear. What about in terms of the kinds of things people are eating? What are you expecting to see through 2023, just in terms of, I don't know, the way people are structuring their meals or the produce or the dishes that they're looking for?
I don't really know. I mean, for us at Rockpool, which is sort of where I reside most of the time, we don't really change too much. We don't. I don't think we've ever been part of one of the fads that have sort of come through or anything. We sort of don't. We do what we do, I guess, and that's about it. I think the quality of produce that everyone's eating will probably have to really change because of the weather factors in Australia are making it harder and harder. So, people are going to have to only have seasonal, which I know chefs bang on about seasonal all the time, but they're really not going to be able to hold a lot of stuff anymore. And predominant areas where they grow food might not grow them because it might not be there because of water restrictions or not enough water or too much water. So I think the environment will have a big factor in what we eat this year. And then, with the price of, in particular, proteins, the beef and pork and lamb going up so much and seafood that chefs are going to have to get pretty creative with serving either smaller portions or different cuts and different pieces that people maybe not be familiar with, or it's not going to be fillet steak for everyone all the time. I think, and then that sort of happened over last year and we saw that, but I think that will come through even more and more this year. And I'd love to see people eating some more seafood in Australia. It's still a very underrated product that we have so much of on our doorstep, and we still don't eat enough of it. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It almost sounds like you're relishing the challenge of, rethinking whether it's portions or cuts or, getting people to try a bit of seafood.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking out over the water right now, so it's sort of got my opinion bias. And I was out on the water yesterday fishing, so. But yeah, it is, a lot of people I still have a bit of a thing about seafood. And I think it's mainly down to when you eat seafood that's not fresh, it tastes that, and everyone says that typical, it tastes really fishy. But, some of the lesser known fish, if you eat them when they're fresh, they are gorgeous, like just so delicious to eat. And there's so many underrated bits of seafood out there that Australians just haven't got their heads around. That I'd love to see some more of it on menus and being eaten.
Yeah, well, give us a couple of species that you reckon people should get onto. Oh,
leatherjacket is the easiest thing to cook. It's one of those fish that's cheap, doesn't have any bones predominantly. It's got no scales. It's skinned for you. So if you go down to the fish markets or to any seafood sort of supplier, will have it, and you can throw them in the oven with a bit of butter and overcook it by 3 or 4 minutes either side, and it's still good. It's a very forgiving fish, and it's not one of those. Australians are obsessed by snapper, particularly in Victoria and South Australia. They just think that snapper is the be all end all of fish, and I'm going to go out there and say it. I don't think it's that actually great of a fish to eat. It's so hard to get right. If you overcook it by 20 seconds, it's dry and stringy. Where something like leatherjacket, you can cook it for an extra 5 minutes and it's still good to go. I think things like leatherjacket are great. Mussels, buying a bag of mussels are under $10 for a kilo, and cooking that for a family dinner with a couple of beans or something, with a big loaf of bread, or with a big sauce. I mean, I don't know anyone that doesn't enjoy dipping a loaf of bread into a sauce that's flavored with mussels. It's just cheap, and it's easy. And my kids even like it. They tend to not eat the mussels too much, or they like the white ones and not the orange ones. I don't know why. But that's a great thing, and just sit around a table and eat a bowl of mussels with the family. I think Australians don't tend to do that too often. where it should be, quite easy to do. And, if you just go down to the fish markets and have a look and see what's fresh and what's available, that's always that's the key to it.
Love it, Corey. That's such good advice. And I'm really excited about 2023 being the year of the leather jacket. That's good. I'm happy. I'm happy with that. It's really good. I reckon 2023 is also the year of curly parsley. So maybe we can garnish our leather jacket with a bit of curly parsley. And
I've got some curly parsley growing in a pot, and I unfortunately didn't pay enough attention to it, and it grew too big, and then it's all died. So I have to replant some more curly parsley.
There is still time.
There is still time.
Get on this trend. We are sure, but yeah, there's time. Corey, really great to catch up and fantastic to hear about what you're doing at the Australian Open. Good luck with it. Good luck turning those tables and getting those plates out to all those delegations.
I'm looking forward to it. The Melbourne heat always usually lays it on for us over those 2 weeks. So, yeah. I can't wait.
It'll be great. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, and I'll see you at the tennis.
See you, Dani. Cheers.
This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This